They thought they won. They celebrated your fall like it was their victory. They passed around the story of your breaking like it was entertainment. They moved on, they laughed, they built their comfort on top of the wreckage of what they did to you. And they genuinely believed that it was over. But here's what they forgot. They forgot who your Father is. They forgot that there is a God who watches every closed door, every whispered lie, every silent tear you swallowed so that no one would see you collapse. Every night you stared at the ceiling and asked, "Why did they do this to me?" And the answer never came from any human mouth. He saw it all. Not some of it, not the parts you showed, every single moment. The ones you hid, the ones that broke something in you that you don't even know how to name yet. The ones you have replayed 100 times trying to find where you went wrong when the only thing you did wrong was trust someone who was not trustworthy. You didn't find this video. This video found you. Because today is not a coincidence. This moment, right now, your eyes on these words, your heart already trembling, this was arranged. Not by the algorithm, by the one who wrote your name before the foundations of the earth were laid. And he has something he needs you to hear. They thought they won. He just showed up to finish this. If you feel this in your spirit, type the word "seen" in the comments right now and subscribe so the next message finds you too. Part 1. Let's talk about what actually happened. Not the version you've been trying to make sense of, not the version you've explained to yourself 100 times looking for a reason that would make the pain smaller. The real version, the one God sees. Someone chose to harm you. That's it. That's the whole sentence. They made a choice, a deliberate, conscious, willful choice to use you, to betray you, to abandon you, to tear down what you built, to take what was not theirs, to leave you holding the weight of something you never deserved. And they did it knowing. That's the part no one wants to say out loud, because if we admit they knew, if we admit this was not a misunderstanding, not a mistake, not a moment of weakness, then we have to sit with the full weight of it. They knew, and they did it anyway. And you tried to be understanding. You tried to give grace. You told yourself there must have been reasons. You bent your own pain into a shape that could excuse theirs, because that is who you are. Because forgiveness and mercy live in you like breathing, natural and instinctive, and you gave it even when it cost you something profound. And what did it cost you? Peace, sleep, trust, the version of yourself that believed the world was basically safe, the ability to open without flinching, relationships that deserved better from you but received the damage someone else created. Months, maybe years, spent in the slow erosion of your own confidence because they planted doubt like a seed and watered it with every small cruelty and every large abandonment. That is the real damage, isn't it? Not just what they did, what it turned you into afterward. The careful one, the guarded one, the one who waits for people to leave before they can love them fully, the one who smiles but keeps a wall behind the smile, the one who helps everyone else and cries alone at 2 a.m. when the house is quiet. God sees that person, not just the version of you that performs strength, the one underneath, the one carrying the weight of someone else's sin on shoulders that were never designed to hold it. The one who has spent so long surviving that they have almost forgotten what it felt like to simply live. He sees you. And here's what I need you to understand right now, in this very moment, before we go any deeper. What they did to you was witnessed. Every action has been recorded, not in a system of human justice, which is imperfect and slow and sometimes never arrives at all, but in the court of a God who misses nothing, who is moved by nothing except truth, and who has never, not once, allowed injustice to have the final word in the story of one of his own. They thought they won. The evidence is still being gathered. Part 2. Now let's talk about the silence. The silence that came after. The silence that felt like God had turned away. The silence that made you wonder, in moments you would never say out loud, whether you were being punished
Whether you had done something years ago or lifetimes ago that made this your portion. You are not being punished. Say that again, slowly. Let it move through you. You are not being punished. What is happening in your life right now is not the consequence of your failure. It is the consequence of someone else's choice. And the silence you have been living inside is not abandonment. It is the silence of a God who is at work in the unseen, who operates in the hidden, who does his most profound building in the space between the wound and the healing, in the dark soil beneath the frost, in the long winter before the spring no one can see coming yet. You do not feel his hand right now. That does not mean his hand is not there. The fire beneath the stone does not announce itself. The roots that will one day break concrete grow without any applause. The tides do not ask permission before they return. And God does not need your awareness of his movement to be moving. He is moving. Right now, in the situation you have given up on, in the relationship that feels dead, in the door that has been closed so long you stopped knocking, in the name of the person who hurt you, a name that God holds in his hands with a weight and a reckoning you cannot yet see, but that is as real as the ground beneath your feet. And here is the thing about divine justice that human minds struggle to hold. It is not slow because it is absent. It is slow because it is complete. Human revenge is quick and small and always costs the one who takes it something precious. Divine justice is thorough. It reaches every hidden thing. It addresses not just the action, but the root, not just what was done to you, but why and who enabled it, and what structures allowed it, and what must be rebuilt in its place. It takes time because it is doing far more than you asked for. You asked for justice? God is building restoration. You asked for them to be stopped? God is restructuring the entire landscape. And they have been living in the ease of believing they got away with it. That confidence, that particular arrogance of the one who sinned and felt no consequence, that is part of the plan. Let them settle in. Let them build their comfort on what they took. Let them believe the story is over. Because when God moves, he does not send a warning. He arrives, and the very ground they built on, the ground made from your suffering, your silence, your grace, that ground is already shifting beneath them. They just don't know it yet. Part 3. The Turn. There is a moment in every divine story where the tide turns, not with fanfare, not with an announcement from heaven, with a single, quiet, irreversible act that changes everything. A door that opens, a word that is spoken, a phone call, a decision, a meeting that was arranged before either party knew they were coming. A moment that looks to anyone watching like coincidence, but to the one who has been waiting in faith feels like an earthquake. That moment is yours. Not eventually, not in some distant season when you have earned it or prepared it for it enough. Now, in this chapter, in the days that are already unfolding around you, whether you can see the movement or not, God is finishing what they interrupted. Think about what they tried to stop, the vision they laughed at, the calling they mocked, the relationship they poisoned, the business they sabotaged, the reputation they damaged, the peace they stole, everything they put their hands on with the intention of breaking. God has been reconstructing in the hidden place. Not the same version, a stronger one that cannot be destroyed by what they have available, because it was built by hands they cannot reach. And you are about to see it. That thing you stopped believing in, believe in it again. Because faith is not the absence of evidence. Faith is the willingness to act on what God has spoken before the evidence arrives in the visible world. And God has spoken over your life, over this situation, over the very thing they tried to bury. He has spoken life into it. And what God speaks life into does not stay buried. It rises. Ask Lazarus, ask Joseph, ask every person who spent years in the pit of someone else's cruelty and then walked out wearing a crown they never expected, carrying an authority they could not have held before the suffering, because the suffering was the training ground. You are not the victim of your story. You are the protagonist, and the protagonist does not stay down. The protagonist rises in the third act, worn and tested, and wiser and more powerful than the person they were at the beginning. The protagonist looks back at the pit, not with bitterness, but with understanding, because now they can see what the pit was for, what it grew in them, what it killed in them that needed to die, what it clarified about who their real allies are, and who was only there for the season of their comfort. They thought they won. They gave you your training ground. They sharpened you. They refined you. They showed you exactly who you are when everything is taken. And what they revealed is someone who does not break, someone who bends, someone who waits, someone who prays when prayer feels useless, and trusts when trust feels foolish, and keeps walking when the road cannot be seen. That person is dangerous to every plan that was designed against them, and God just showed up to finish this.
Part 4. Transformation. So now let's talk about what comes next. Not the revenge you imagined in your darkest moments, not the dramatic collapse of everyone who wronged you, not the satisfaction of watching them lose exactly what they cost you. Let all of that go. It was never yours to carry. It was always His to handle. And He handles things with a precision and a thoroughness that human revenge could never achieve. What comes next is your elevation. And I need you to understand something about elevation. It is not comfortable, not at first. Because when God lifts you, He lifts you into the fullness of who He made you to be. And that person is bigger than the version of you that has been hiding, shrinking, managing, surviving. That version of you has been living in a space made smaller by what they did, playing within boundaries drawn by their cruelty, measuring your worth against the measurement of someone who did not see you clearly. Those boundaries are not real. They were imposed, and what is imposed can be removed. And God is in the process of removing every artificial limit that was placed on your life by the hands of people who did not have the authority to place them there. Watch what happens to your voice. Watch what happens when you stop apologizing for taking up space. Watch what happens when you stop softening your truth for the comfort of the people who benefited from your silence. Watch what happens when you walk into rooms as someone who knows, not who believes, not who hopes, but who knows that God has vindicated them, that the record has been set right in the courts of heaven, that every lie told about them has been answered, every stolen thing has been accounted for. You are about to walk differently. Not with arrogance, with authority. There is a difference. Arrogance performs strength. Authority simply has it. It doesn't need to announce itself. It doesn't need to prove anything to the people who doubted. It walks into the room, and the room knows. Something shifts. Something in the atmosphere registers the presence of someone who has been through fire and is still standing. Someone who could have been destroyed and wasn't. Someone who carries on their skin the testimony of a God who shows up. And the ones who wronged you, they will hear about it. Not because you told them, but because God has a way of making sure the right people see the right stories. They will hear about what became of the one they threw away, and the recognition will land in them like a stone in still water, spreading, deepening, impossible to stop. They thought they won. God just finished writing the chapter they cannot see yet, and it ends with you standing. Not crawling, not recovering, standing with your head lifted, your name cleared, your future restored, and a testimony so undeniable that even the people who doubted you will have to be silent. This is your moment, not their aftermath, your moment. Receive it. If this message was for you, if something in your spirit confirmed it, subscribe to this channel. There is more coming, more that was arranged specifically for the season you are walking into. Don't miss it, because the story isn't over. It's just finally going the way it was always supposed to go.